Hi, everyone. It's 5:31.
No, it says connecting to audio.
That's okay. She's connecting to audio, or they're connecting to audio. And I am going to record this so we can post it on our website and for all the folks who can't make us live. But thank you for joining us for the very first RFF Zoom cooking class. And we are working with our dear friend Adrian Chang of Mori House, who's also in Sonoma County and Occidental. And he is going to do a class today on ways that you can use up all of your produce and so make your fridge ready for the next delivery. And we want to encourage participation, so feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions if you have any questions, and it can be dynamic. So Adrian, you can take it away. And also you can ask questions of me too, of the farm, of the vegetables, the process. And I'd be happy to answer them as well.
Cool. Well, hi everyone, number one. I am going to be doing the class with you today. As Leslie says, we're going to be doing kind of like a fridge clearing out class. So it's kind of just whatever you got in the fridge that you kind of forgot about, or that's going a little bit kind of sad, just how to use them quickly and, purposefully, so you don't just kind of waste everything, because, Uncle hates wasting. And so it's just a fun class. And I'm going to do a couple of different types of kind of savory pancakes with you guys. So I'm going to do a kimchi jjigae. Oh, no, it's not jjigae, excuse me. Kimchi jon or kimchi buchimgae. I'm also going to be doing a okonomiyaki, and I'm also going to be doing my grandma's specialty egg Foo Young as well. And I'm also, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, I'm also going to be making a fried rice as well, just because why not? But when I'm cooking at home and just kind of winging it as we are today, I like to put on a little music. So if that's all right, I'm going to do that. And if it's too loud for you, just let us know. Unmute yourself. Just let us know. You can just type it in the chat box and just let me know if it's too loud and I'll turn it down. But it just kind of gets me in the mood to, be creative. So let me walk you through what we're going to be making today, or rather the ingredients. So I'm not sure quite which order I'm going to do it in, but let's just start with the kimchi buchimgae. I'm going to do a Korean style kimchi pancake, right? So I, of course, because who doesn't, have some kimchi sitting in my fridge. It's actually a bok choy kimchi that was made by Eleonora and Marcus and Leslie, of course, back last year in November. So this is like the really, really good, stinky, and pungent stuff. It's so delicious. So I'm going to be using this today in my buchimgae, but I'm also going to be putting, because I don't want to use too much. And I also realize some of you may not have kimchi in your fridge, totally fine. I'm also going to put some just regular beichu or napa cabbage, and I'll teach you how to just lightly salt them or lightly pickle them so you get some of that same kind of pickly flavor. So I'll show you how to do that in a sec. I'm also going to use this old onion that was sitting in the fridge just because you got to use it. You don't want to waste it. And then a couple of green onions and maybe a little bit of garlic. It all depends, because this is pretty flavorful, so I might skip the garlic. For the okonomiyaki, normally you use just standard white green cabbage. I don't have that today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this bok choy that has been sitting in my fridge, and it was the last thing I was using. I forgot about it, but most of the leaves are pretty good, and the stems are fantastic. So this will be a good substitute for okonomiyaki, and rather for the cabbage in okonomiyaki. And some of you may know that okonomiyaki actually means fried or grilled, whatever you want, or as you like it. So really, that's what it is. Use whatever you got, whatever you want. So that's going to go in there, as well as just some more extra green onions and stuff like that. For the egg, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Someone said the music is a little.
Okay, I will turn it down. How's that? Is that better? If you are not able to hear me, I can repeat myself, no problem. So that was the okonomiyaki. For the egg Foo Young, I don't have any of the traditional ingredients, which is, my grandma used to do it with ham and bean sprouts and carrots and a whole bunch of stuff. I don't have any of that stuff, but what I do have is this lovely zucchini, also from Radical, and it's the one thing left from last week's box that is still really, really good. So I'm going to use that. I'm also going to use these Hakure turnips. I'm going to use the turnip bit, the root, in the egg foo young, but I'm thinking I might actually save the leaves for the fried rice that I'm going to make later. But those are going to be the two vegetable ingredients, plus some ham, leftover ham the other night from a kind of like an English boiled ham that my husband made the other night. And so this is just leftover meat. It was attached to this knuckle. It's not knuckle, I can't remember what it was, but I had him remove all of the chunky meats for me, so because I just can't be bothered to work with bones. And so I'm going to chop that up to kind of resemble whatever, like chunks of ham that my grandma would have put in her egg foo young. And then I'm going to use this bone. Look at that bone marrow in there. I'm going to use this bone to make a stock probably for the dogs actually, but that's going to go into the egg foo young as well. Probably a bit of ginger and all that. I am not going to get too creative with my sauces today because I don't want to create more stuff to put in my fridge. But what I am going to do, egg foo young normally uses a kind of a Cantonese, quote unquote, Cantonese style silken gravy. I've actually got the gravy from the other night when Chris made the ham. So I'm actually going to use that. There's onion and the stock from the ham, and also I think there's a bit of sage and like parsley and stuff like that. Not typical of Asian flavors or East Asian flavors, but I'm going to go with it because it is delicious and you don't want to waste it. So that is that. I've also, for the okonomiyaki, I don't have tonkatsu sauce because I normally make my own and I ran out. I have, however, some mayonnaise that I made the other day that is very similar to Kewpie. And I also have this kind of tonkatsu sauce-ish type of thing that Chris makes. It's, he calls it his sweet chili everything sauce. So I'm gonna be putting that on my okonomiyaki, and I'll show you how to drizzle it and how to make the little designs with your fork or chopsticks. So those are my two sauces, plus the gravy for the egg foo young. I'm not going to make any other sauces because I don't think I'll have the time. But I did forget to say also, I'm going to be making a fried rice at the end. My auntie's coming over, so I want to make sure that there's enough food, and who doesn't want rice? So I'm going to be using, as I said, maybe the leaves from the hakure turnip, and then some of this lettuce. I think it's romaine. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So because I'm making the fried rice, I need to cook my rice. Normally I would use leftover fried rice, but I don't have any leftover fried rice, because there is never leftover rice in this house. So I will have to make some now. So if you guys want to try the fried rice with me, get some rice going in your rice cooker. And if you've never, let me get a measuring cup. If you've never made rice before on the stove, this is how you do it. This is jasmine rice. I'm using a half cup measurement. I'm gonna do a cup. I'm using standard cups, not rice cooker cups, okay? This is 1 cup of dry rice, jasmine rice, which I find normally feeds about 3 hungry people pretty well. So I'm going to go over here and just rinse it quickly. So if you're doing it as well, please join me in the rice rinsing. If not, then you just get to watch me stand by the sink. So what you want to do is, like, I don't know if you've ever rinsed rice. For those of you who don't know how to do it properly, you kind of want to just give it a little bit of a swish. Here, what you're doing is encouraging the rice grains to kind of brush against each other and then loosen all of the starches around it, because you don't want all that starch in there. It's unnecessary, and it also makes it more stodgy, which I don't tend to like very much myself. And then what you want to do is just rinse this out in the sink. I'm sorry about that little bing every time I switch my camera. And you'll probably want to do this about 3 times. Something I'm forgetting to do is you can always save your rice rinsing water and feed it to your plants. Plants really benefit quite a bit from rice starch, as well as when you make things like kimchi. you can, or any kind of ferment, you can use your rice starch, or rather the starchy water from the rice rinsing, to help move along the fermentation faster. It also helps it because normally when you make like a kimchi paste or any kind of, fermentation paste, you tend to add, different types of liquids to it, like water. But using the my pitcher's full, so that's why I'm pouring it into the sink. You can use the starchy water for that. And also, we have a little curry leaf plant out on the deck, which we grew from seed, and it's struggling a little bit because it's been so hot and dry out, even though it likes the heat. And apparently curry leaf plants really like starchy rice water as well. Just FYI, if any of you are trying that. So I've got 1 cup of jasmine rice. I'm gonna add 1 and about 1/4 cup. Another measurement, if you're old school, just use your finger, and from your last knuckle to the tip of your finger is generally how much water you need from the surface of the rice. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna get my rice going on. So hopefully I will hear it before it bubbles over. Now, what I'm gonna do first is I am going to get my Napa cabbage, because I'm gonna salt some of it to just kind of lightly pickle it so it's on theme. I think I'm gonna I'm gonna do 3, and if I have extra, that's fine, because I'm also gonna put kimchi into it as well. And you might notice I've got my sad veggies sitting in a bowl of water with the roots down. That just kind of helps to kind of reinvigorate them a little bit. So with these guys, here's a little bowl. I'm just gonna chop them up. The music doesn't want to play. I guess that's fine, we'll just leave it. And I'm gonna cut off the little rough ends. This is for the okonomiyaki. Oh, no, this is for the kimchi buchimgae. So I'm just gonna slice this kind of thinly, which is, not the traditional way, because normally kimchi is in the whole cabbage form, and then you chop it up. But just for a little extra texture, just so the kimchi doesn't get, the bok choy kimchi doesn't get lost. The texture doesn't get lost in the pancake. Just a little contrast. I'm just gonna go across this way as well. Chop it however you want. It doesn't really matter because it's all gonna go into your mouth. I need a bigger bowl. And here is a bigger bowl. So I'm just gonna put this into a bowl. 3 cabbage leaves. I'm probably now going to use, how much salt? I'm gonna use maybe like a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly mix this together with my hands. And it seems like a lot of salt, don't worry, it kind of is, but that's because I'm gonna pickle it. And then whatever liquid is left sitting at the bottom, I am going to drain out. And I'm just gonna let this sit while I prepare the rest of the veggies. And so basically adding salt helps to extract quite a bit of the moisture. And you do this when you're making standard kimchi anyways, because you want to remove as much moisture from the leaves as possible. So it helps to maintain the texture of and the bite of the leaves. Otherwise, if there's too much water in there, when it sits in a brine, it's just gonna become kind of sludgy, and that's not really what you want with pickles, especially kimchi. You want there to be good texture. So I'm just gonna let this sit on the counter. I'm going to get another bowl, which is conveniently already here, because I'm also going to do the same to my zucchini. So I'm kind of all over the place. So if you're just gonna make one of these, just bear with me while I kind of go back and forth. I'm going to do the same with zucchini because zucchini has a lot of water content, and I want to extract as much of that as possible to make the pancake, or rather the egg Foo Young. Yes, that's what I'm making. So I'm going to get a grater. Number one, because I'm lazy, but then also because it's very convenient. You can also, if you don't have a grater, you can also just julienne it or just mince it, or whatever works for you. And then when I've done this, I'm going to add salt. Probably a little bit less salt because it doesn't take much to get that water out of here. I've got one zucchini here. I'm not sure what the weight is, but it was, how many inches is that? It's about the length of my hand. So this will also just take like, I don't know, you could let it sit for a long time, up to like half an hour, but it doesn't need to sit that long. Same with the cabbage from before. It just needs to get as much liquid out, as much water out as you can in a short amount of time. So I'm gonna get my salt again. For this much, for scale, is my hands. For that much, probably like just under a teaspoon of salt. I'm using sea salt. And again, I'm going to use my hands just to, maybe a little more, just a pinch. And again, this is just to help coax the water out. We're sweating them essentially. Same that you do with eggplant and other veggies like that. It's very, very watery, as you can see, and as you can probably tell if you're doing this as well. So I am again going to set this aside. I'm not going to pickle the turnips because I find that they don't have as much water in them and don't really find that they need to be pickled. And also the other thing about salt pickling is that it softens the texture of the vegetable without making it slushy or smushy or anything like that. Clean my surface. I like to clean as I go. So I think I am going to start with the kimchi buchimgae. So I'm going to take out some of this kimchi. Let me get my chopsticks. Not sure how much I'm going to use yet. Probably like half a cup-ish. If I need more, I'll get more later. So I can show you. Ho, ho, ho. Last year, baby, November. And I'm gonna cut off these little hard bits because this was handmade. And as you can see, this is bok choy. It was made in its whole form. I'm gonna cut off the little root bit or the core bit because it does tend to be a little bit on the hard, chewy side. Oh, wow, this is smelly in a good way. And I'm just going to chop this into, I don't know, like half a quarter of an inch pieces, maybe narrower or thinner, whatever you want. Make them bigger if you want. My rice has come to a boil, so I'm gonna turn it down to low and let it cook for 15 minutes at a low simmer, covered. That looks like about half a cup to me. So check this. And there's my kimchi. But this time, it's a little soon, but might as well just do it. I don't know if you can tell, my Napa cabbage has wilted quite a lot just in the last, what, like 4 or 5 minutes. And it's almost the same texture as the kimchi. And the idea was just to soften it so it's not quite so rigid, but not so soft that, again, that it loses its here. I don't know if you could hear that, but it's still crunchy, but it's become nice and flimsy and malleable. And so I don't know if you can see this, but now at this stage, I can actually squeeze out a little excess water, and you probably can't see it, but it is definitely coming out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this over to the sink and squeeze out all this water. Gently, you don't wanna like kill the cabbage. So I'm just gonna tip, see if you can tell, all that liquid that just came out. And I'm just gonna take little clumps and I'm just gonna squeeze out whatever is left. And there's actually quite a lot. And again, just gently. You don't need to like you squeeze it to smithereens. You just want to get as much of that liquid out as possible. Next clump. You don't have to do this, but again, it just kind of, I don't want to have excess liquid in my batter. There's a little bit left here. Okay. So now that I've got all that excess liquid out, I'm just going to see how much I have here. I don't think I'm going to need all of this, so I probably did only need about 2 leaves. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of this in the bowl for another time. I'm going to need this mixing bowl later, so I'm just going to transfer, put this to the side, and just rinse my bowl so it's ready for the next pancake. Obviously, when you're doing this at home, if you're probably just trying one of these, you won't have all of these kitchen gymnastics to deal with. I'm just trying to impress you with my multitasking skills, of which I have none. So let me quickly wipe my surface. To this, I'm also going to add this onion, which is really mangled. So I'm just going to just chop it into thin slices. Very irregular and unplanned. A little dry bit I will remove because we don't want that. Anybody have any questions? I would normally put green onions in this, but just because I have it, might as well. This may actually be way too much filling, but work with what you got. Okay. Instead, mix this together. That looks like a pretty good kimchi to bok choy kimchi to Napa cabbage ratio. It's, I think I may have overpowered the kimchi a bit, but that's okay because I'm actually not sure of my auntie if she likes kimchi, but she's gonna have it. So if you think that this needs more kimchi, add to it for sure. I just wanted to show you, in case you didn't have kimchi, how to pickle the cabbage. Put my kimchi away. I'm now going to make the batter. I'm going to do a really, really, really simplified version of it because I don't really have the time and or the memory to do it all. But I'm basically going to do, I think I'm going to do half a cup. I might do a cup actually. Hey babe, can you get me some more flour, please? That's something that I forgot. It's all purpose. My kitchen assistant in his office. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need more than half a cup. Normally, when I make these pancakes, I'll do like just half a cup of flour to half a cup of water, but that doesn't look like the right amount. So I am just gonna do, it's basically equal parts water to flour in cups. Thank you. And so this is about 3/4 of a cup. So I'm going to do the same. Ideally, you would use stock, but if you don't have it, like I don't, I'm just going to use some water. So 3 1/4 cup of water. You're going to get something that resembles something kind of similar to a, thank you, thanks, to a pancake batter. I didn't sift my batter because just use chopsticks or a fork to just work through the little clumps. Pretty easy to do. I don't put egg in mine. Some people do. I don't think traditionally there is egg in it. However, I am going to be using, I would say probably of the brine of the kimchi, I'll probably use like 2 tablespoons, which is, let's see here, 2 tablespoons. This is going to really make sure that you get the flavors that you want. Here we go. God, Leslie, this is smelly. I love it. I'm gonna add maybe just a pinch of salt. I like adding a little fish sauce, just a splash. Let's make sure it's not too big of a splash because it's already quite salty. There we go. Just a small splash. I kind of feel fish sauce kind of just makes everything better. But obviously, if you're vegan, don't worry about it. Forget about it. Just use, either omit it, or if you have to have something, not that soy sauce is a substitute for fish sauce at all, but you know, if you were to have like a very good quality soy sauce, you could, I guess you could add that in there. I'm gonna add a little sugar. No, I won't, forget it. You can also add a little sugar in there as well if you wanted. So for that amount, I think I'm gonna try about half of this filling, see how I get on. If I made too much or too little of the batter. I'm gonna add more. You know, forget about it, just put it all in. No, it's okay, I don't need the flour, the sugar. Give me some sugar. I changed my mind. Get all of these goodies out of there. Is there anyone cooking along with us today? I can't really see what's going on because I'm, you know, I'm doing this. Just mix it all together evenly. I just tasted my batter. It's pretty good. There could definitely be more kimchi in there, but it is what it is. I would say that the next time you make this, just go for the full kimchi, which is what you're supposed to do. But again, I just wanted to show you the possibilities. And plus, I need to save that. I need to save that kimchi because I'm going to be making sundu buchimgae with it later. So, what I'm going to do, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to use this or the other pan. I think I'll use the other pan. Let me grab it so you can see. Sorry about the noise. I thought it was in the dishwasher. I'm gonna put a little oil in the base of my pan. Just like 1.5 tablespoons. Put it on medium heat, not too high, because I don't want to smoke my house out. Okay. So once the oil is hot and ready to go, and you'll know that it's ready to go because the oil will become really silky and really shiny. And also if it smokes a little bit as well, that's totally fine. When it's hot enough, and I'll show you another trick as well to know whether or not it's hot enough, you're just gonna put the pancake batter with the contents into it, and you're just gonna let it cook on one side for about 3 to 5 minutes, flip it over, do it again, and then flip it over one more time just to make sure that we got it, you know, both sides evenly. And then that's basically it. And I'm going to put it to warm in my oven while that was my phone. Someone was calling me. Okay, so one way to tell whether or not the oil is hot enough is if you take like a wooden instrument and you just put it in the oil. If you see bubbles forming around it, that means you know that it's ready to go. It doesn't tell you what temperature it is, but it tells you that it's frying ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this into the pan. And I'm gonna sniff it down. I'm pretty sure I'm at a medium heat. This gas burner is different than the one that I use on my the gas pressure that we have on our stove. So I'm not quite used to this pressure. It's a lot stronger than the other. And I'm gonna give this about now I'm gonna turn it down to like medium low. Give that about 3 to 5 minutes. And I'm just gonna keep checking it. And I'm not gonna be able to show you what it looks like underneath. But basically when it becomes kind of like this golden brown color, that's when you're gonna flip it. And if your heat is too high, then that means it's gonna brown too quickly. And then you're just gonna, end up with like a burnt pancake, which I'm hoping I'm not gonna end up with now. And you should also notice by this time that you should be able to slide it around like this because it's sealed at the bottom. You should be able to slide pretty easily without it sticking to the base of the pan. So you could use a nonstick if you wanted to. We don't have a nonstick in this house. So I just either use the cast iron for things like this, or just a little bit of extra oil at a high heat and then it won't stick. That's just kind of what I tend to find in my kitchen and with the equipment that I have on hand. Now, Bill needs another, oh, look at that. My timer for my rice is on the 2 minutes, so I think that's probably about right. I'm just gonna let this keep going. Give a little swirl every once in a while. Make sure it's not sticking anywhere. The hard part is gonna be the flipping, and I always ask my husband to help me with this, but I'm gonna try it myself. I think mostly because I've never really ruined it, but like I always just get really, really nervous. Anybody have any questions? Everyone's so polite and quiet. I'm just reading your comments. I would love this to be in person as well. One of these days we will do it. In fact, Leslie, I think, aren't we doing the Gimjang in person at the end of the year with Brett?
We're gonna do with Brett and Selena Lee, Kim Jong. So kimchi making. And then September 10th, we're gonna be doing a harvest moon gathering at the well. So I'm growing out the red at a zucchini by cakes.
We will have them in person, as Leslie says. She does have some things lined up. Now, still could be darker. I'm just gonna leave it for the last minute that I have. And it's something that I will show you as well in that last minute. Oop. When my rice is done, it's after the 15 marks, I fluff it and then cover it again and let it sit for a further 5 minutes. Everyone has their own way of doing it. This is just how I do it. So my timer just went off. My pancake is fine. Get a new pair of chopsticks or a fork. You usually never open it up, but I'm gonna open it so I can just quickly fluff it so it doesn't become like a cake. And then I'm gonna cover it up again. Ooh, my chickens are fighting, I can hear them. That's just outside the kitchen. Our kitchen windows look out to the chicken coop. Our kitchen windows, not our chicken windows, look out to the chicken coop, and I can hear somebody fighting. We just got some new teenage chickens the other day, and they're trying to figure out their place in the flock. So, oh, this spatula really makes me nervous. Okay, 1, 2, Oh yeah. Now, I could have put more oil under it, but I don't want to have to use too much oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep making sure that I swirl it around, move it around. You can hear the vibration in my voice because I'm using my whole body. It just means that I'm making sure that it doesn't stick as best as I can. It's another 5 minutes, almost in tandem. I'm going to do 4 just in case. Almost exactly in tandem with my rice. Just behind by about 30 seconds or so. Here we go, that's not gonna stick now. Something that you guys probably know for making pancakes or any other kind of flat thingy, or if you're like frying a burger or something, always press it down a little bit. Make sure that any of that extra batter that is still stuck in there gets squeezed out so it doesn't get missed in the cooking. And it also ensures that it gets evenly heated through. Plus it, flattens it. It's a little bit low. Turn it up a bit again. But I'm gonna flip it over one more time because I love a challenge. Let's see. Oh, Chris, is this plate heat proof? Because I'm gonna put this on top of here and then put it in the oven at 150. I just want to make sure that this heirloom plate is heat proof. Is that heat proof? This is the good one. It is? Okay, cool. We are safe. I'm going to use this heirloom plate. It's probably one of our most favorite plates. I'm gonna put it in the oven. Are you sure? Okay, he's not sure, so he's gonna get me a new plate. Ooh, I can feel it's crunchity underneath. That's good, but not burnt. I love it. I am now at the 2-minute mark. I don't think I'm gonna have to flip this again, but I will, just because I wanna see if I can do it without the spatula. Because I feel like, oh, maybe not. No, I'm not gonna make a fool of myself. 1.5 minutes. Is that the right size? It'll have to be. So probably what I'll do when my auntie gets here, I'll keep everything in the oven, and when my auntie gets here, I'll probably put these on a chopping board and then cut them into pieces, put them out on the table rather than having them on the plates, because it's just easier to chop it that way. Almost. If anybody is actually trying this with me, how is it looking? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Well, you know what? It's browning. I'm gonna turn it over one more time. See if I can butcher it. Oh, you know what? That wasn't brown at all, but that's fine. It's cooked enough. Could have been a little bit crispier. I'm just gonna give it 1 more minute, maybe 2 minutes on this other side, because it could have been a little bit browner, more brown. Okay, we're at the last minute. And then I'm just gonna slide this onto a plate and put it in the oven. When I'm gonna eat it or serve it, I'm just gonna, some people like to cut it into little like pizza slices. I'll probably cut them into like rectangles, like in, like in a grid, whatever you wanna do. So lowest heat, that's my minute almost up, so I'm just gonna turn this off. You see, I'm missing a lot of kimchi in there. This should be red. So Korean friends, please do not make fun of me. It should be red, but I just was trying to show you how to be creative with what you got. Should be spicier as well. I'm gonna put this into my oven, which is just warming. It's just about 125 degrees. Fahrenheit. I'm just gonna place that in there. This guy out of the way. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to make is my okonomiyaki. Because I kind of feel that the egg foo young needs to be eaten hot because it's mostly egg. There's not really any flour at all in it, actually. And so if you're doing egg, it's better to serve it hot, not rubbery. So that's what I'll do first. So for my okonomiyaki, I've got my bok choy. And I'm gonna do some green onions. I'll probably just do 2, so you can see the size of this thing. It's not huge, but it'll be enough for a pancake, more than enough really. And then maybe 2 green onions for that. And I'm gonna slice it down the diagonal. I've got a couple of, move this out of the way. Got a couple of leaves here, which are looking a bit sad, which aren't bad, but you should remove the bits which are squidgy and slimy, obviously. I've already washed this, so if you haven't washed yours, please wash it. And what's gonna happen, I'm gonna cut this open. See if there's any bugs in here, because obviously we know this is a no spray farm. So bugs are normal, but bugs are also not wanted in my mouth. So I'm just gonna inspect it just to make sure there's no little weirdos hanging out here. Looks pretty fine to me. I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna leave the core in there. I'm gonna slice it really thinly. When you slice cabbage for okonomiyaki, it should actually be almost kind of like basically shredded, as thin as possible. And I'm gonna do it on the diagonal. I just got joint lock. Tense fingers. Doesn't have to be perfect, friends. It's all going into a pancake and it's all going into your mouth. The difference, out of many differences between a Buchimgae or jon and an okonomiyaki, okonomiyaki technically uses yamaimo or nagaimo, which is basically mountain yam, which some of you may know as being, I think in Chinese it's shanhao. Is that what it's called? It's the long mountain, hairy mountain potato or yam, which has like a really sticky, gloopy, gorgeous mucusy kind of texture, which gets added into the mixture, giving the okonomiyaki kind of batter and then the pancake a really soft, almost kind of undercooked kind of texture to it, which is gorgeous. And so that's what I'm going to do, because I don't have yamaimo or nagaimo here. I am going to just add potato starch, which is not going to be, I'm just removing some of the hard core bits because I changed my mind. Potato starch is not going to be the same as nagaimo or yamaimo, mountain yam. But what it will do is we'll add a nice kind of fluffy, soft kind of texture to it, which is essentially what we want. So I'm just going to get yet another bowl, put this to the side for now. And I was just going to do the green onions. Now you could easily put shredded carrots, or I could have put the zucchini in this. You could do bell peppers. You can do any. I've got a friend, my friend Nama in Nami in Japan. When I first went to stay with her years ago, she made me this gorgeous okonomiyaki with cheese and corn. It was probably the most incredible thing I've ever eaten in my life. And again, because okonomiyaki means fried whatever you want or as you like it, you can literally just put whatever you want. So I'm just doing the bok choy and slicing my green onions thinly on the diagonal. This will get mixed into the batter in a little bit. Okay. For the batter. you got some choices. Well, first of all, sorry for gluten-free friends. This is also going to be using flour. I would say yes, please do try using different types of flour. I just have never made okonomiyaki with non-gluten-free, just regular flour. But I do encourage you to try buckwheat flour. I think might be really interesting. Might be a little bit chewy, but it might turn out really lovely. Again, today I'm going to be using all-purpose flour, equal parts flour to either water or milk, which is something that Nami did and does, and I find really, really delicious. And an egg as well. So I'm gonna make the batter. See if I can find my measuring cup. Sorry, everyone, just give me a sec. Let's get another one out of the dishwasher. Clean dishwasher. I think I'm gonna do the same, 3/4 of a cup. I'm just eyeballing it. Flour. Some milk out of the fridge. Alexander Farms milk. 3/4 of a cup. Gonna twist that in. And if it seems a bit too sticky, I can always just add a little bit more. The texture should be more or less like with the buchimgae, like a pancake batter, because indeed we are making pancakes. Now, I'm going to just do an egg. What is the oldest egg that we have here? I don't know if you guys knew, but if you do farm eggs straight from a farm, you do not need to put them in the fridge. They actually have a protective layer over them when straight out of the chicken that actually keeps them fresh. At 21, here, 22. Pretty sure I had something in the teens here. Bear with me. 18. Thank you, chickies. There we go. It's starting to look a little gloopy, but now that I've added in that egg, that has really helped. And the one thing about okonomiyaki that you'll notice when you're cooking it, it always feels a little bit more watery than it should be, but okonomiyaki should be a little bit kind of, I don't want to say sludgy, but it should be wet. Should not be a dry pancake. But it also depends on where you're having your okonomiyaki. If it were up to me, I'd be having Nagasaki style with the noodles and the pork belly and the ginger, all that good stuff. Modanyaki, which is also similar to Osaka style. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a long time since I lived in Japan. I'm gonna do half of this. You also notice I'm not adding any salt because I find that because I'm gonna be adding all that sauce later, my personal preference, I'm using all that sauce later. I don't really want to overdo it. So maybe I'm using, same as last time, I'm using about 2/3 of the mixture that I had actually prepared. You know, maybe I will add just a tiny little bit of salt. Any questions? Am I that clear in my instructions?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. No, I wasn't asking for an answer. But thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not adding any ginger or garlic to any of these things because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the okonomiyaki bit, the pancake bit, is all about the texture and the yeah, it's all about the texture really. And then for me, it's the sauces that go on top with the katsuobushi, the mackerel flakes. Oh, that really makes it. So I want the pancake to be nice and mild, because otherwise it just becomes a really overly flavorful, when in fact you should have had something that's really well balanced and yada yada you. So let me scrape this little bit off of here from my last pancake. I also use a paper towel, but I'm not going to because I need that pan to be greasy. So pancake number oil, 1.5 tablespoons-ish. Normally you do this on a flat griddle, but I don't have one of those, so I'm going to be doing in this pan. The other thing about using cast iron for nonstick purposes is you need to let it warm through evenly. Otherwise, because it's got so much material to work through, it will not always heat evenly. And so I have found, especially when I've kind of got like a wonky kind of like low pressure gas, I always need to let my cast iron pans heat over a medium low to low heat for a period of time, so it creates a very even radiant heat. And I just forgot to do that, so we just don't have the time to do that now. So that's why I'm just going to be using this pan, which is actually my Thai omelet egg Foo Young pan. So this is something I'm quite familiar with anyways. So see a little bit of smoke in there. Let's check that oil. Bubbles, I see bubbles. Oh goodness, you guys. You know what I forgot? I told you that I was gonna be putting potato starch into this. So I've turned off the heat. 2 tablespoons of potato starch. And I am being cheeky and adding it after the fact because I forgot. So I'm gonna have to really make sure that that potato starch is mixed in properly. So bear with me while I do this last bit. So if you're making this along with me, then you'll have to do this as well. Sorry about that. But I do find that the potato starch really makes the texture a lot. It keeps it from drying out too much, makes it soft, makes it springy, a bit custardy on the inside, just keeps it nice and soft and moist. I do the same for my eggs as well. Sorry about the contrast in the lighting. That looks pretty good to me. Let's get that heat back on. Sorry everyone if you are following along with me in my little oversight.
Hey, Adrian. There's a question. Layla has a question. Can you sub cornstarch if you don't have potato?
Yes, you can. It's not going to be the same. And cornstarch does tend to get a little bit kind of, starchy and floury sometimes. So I would say, just forgo it. But do stock your fridge, do stock your pantry with a little potato starch. I find potato starch to be kind of like one of my most used ingredients in my kitchen. I use it to coat my tofu when I deep fry them, my karaage, everything. I'm gonna do the same as with my Buchimgae. I'm just kind of flatten it out a little bit, make sure my heat is not too high, medium low, too low, depending on the strength of your gas. Just rinsing off my spatula. Now, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't want to overcook this. I might even use the whole 4 minutes, but we'll have to see. Same principle as Buchimgae, but again, for me, okonomiyaki is all about the things that you add to the batter, less about the flavor of the batter itself. And that's why it's so fun to play around with this, because you can basically make anything you want. Hence, fridge clearing. I'll cover it. Oh, girl is looking a little bit brown, so I'm just gonna make sure I turn that down. I'm not timing myself. I think I'll add an extra 2 minutes. I'm just looking at all the comments for when Tita and Rana come back. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy making this when you watch the rest of it later. My auntie that's coming over, her nickname is Tita. And I think she's here actually. I heard my dogs barking. Let's flip this bit. Ooh. Oh God. Oh. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Woo. What I should do really with okonomiyaki is really, it shouldn't be too brown. It shouldn't be too hard and crispy at all. Not like the Buchimgae, which is not hard and crispy, but the Buchimgae should definitely have more of a crispness to it. Okonomiyaki should, as I said, be soft and moist and everything. You know, according to my preferences and the way that I'm quite used to having it. And then what I should really do is serve it hot with all the stuff on top, but I have to make one more pancake for you guys. So this is as well going to go into the oven with my kimchi pancake. And I just want to make sure it's not too, it is kind of hot in there. Turn that off, yikes. And 2 minutes left for this guy. Well, actually 3 minutes left. And while I have some time, I'm just gonna rinse my stuff up. Leslie, did you have any questions? Did you have anything you wanted to chat about for the box or any of these veggies, these lovely veggies that I'm cooking with? Because everything here basically is from my dragon box from last week.
That's great. I think these are great and easy recipes to make these pancakes. I thought they would be much more complex, but the 1-to-1 ratio for me is easy to remember and you can put anything in. I did have a question about the kimchi pancake. Is it normally just kimchi and not fresh vegetables?
You know, it really depends, but yes, the traditional classic is kimchi and also oftentimes like green onions. But there's so many different variations that different households use. But the versions that I've always had have always been, just the kimchi. And it also makes the flavor richer and deeper, spicier, of course. And again, you saw the one that I just made. It certainly was not as red as it should have been, which is very sad, but choices, choices, choices.
And then what are the sauces that you put on the Japanese pancake?
Wow, should put tonkatsu sauce, but again, I don't have tonkatsu sauce. I'm just using Chris's chili everything sauce. And then also, because you know I love it, mayonnaise, baby. Mayonnaise on everything, please. So that will definitely go on there. And the kind of the classic style of doing it is you kind of like squeeze it out like in these little kind of ribbons across, and then you use your chopstick to kind of drag it in a different, to create this design, which is really cute. And then you also put shaved bonito shavings on top, called katsuobushi. You don't have to do any of that. But for me, I can't have okonomiyaki without some kind of sauce. I mean, you really shouldn't anyways, otherwise that's kind of a bit blasphemous. Blasphemer. You see that? That's pretty good, actually. And I can tell when I smoosh it that it's still very soft inside, which is good.
Oh, Bettina wrote something that the 2 recipes so far are great for CSA day because all the other ingredients she normally has and don't have to remember to prep in advance.
Yay! Yeah, that's kind of the thing about all this. It's like, and it's home cooking, isn't it? It's like, how many of us, especially those of us who have, full-time jobs or 2 jobs or classes after work and kids, et cetera, how often do we have time to just like sit down, read a recipe and plan it all out? It's like most of the time we're kind of just like, I've got this is what I've got. I got to throw something together. This is a really great way of doing that. And kids love pancakes as well. I mean, what's not to love about them? And the other lovely thing about this, that's my timer had gone off. So that was about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, is that you can, when you cut them into pieces, especially the buchimgae and any other kind of jeon, you can cut them up and then wrap them in leaves with herbs and kind of, oh God, it's so gorgeous. I'll show you that in a second or when we're done. So Okonomiyaki has to go in the oven because I don't want it to get cold. Hope it doesn't dry out too much. 6:30. Looks like I might use that whole time, Leslie. And guys, I think I'm gonna skip doing the fried rice in situ because I don't want to go over time. If I've got time, I'll do it. So for my egg Foo Young, my grandma always put garlic and ginger. You could do whatever you want, but that's what I'm doing. I'm also going to be taking my zucchini and squeezing out that excess liquid like I did with the Napa cabbage. So I'm gonna go over here. Pour it out. I think you probably saw that. Oh goodness. And actually, when you squeeze, sorry, when you sweat zucchini like this, especially after it's been grated, it makes for a beautiful ingredient for vegan, vegetarian meatballs. So lovely.
Hey Adrian, we have another question from Christine. What would you recommend doing with more stemmy veggies like gailan? I also wanted to ask about celtis too. Is that
Celtis? That's a really good question. I would say that with celtis and even the gailan, the thinner stems and the leaves you could chop up and do in, say, like a okonomiyaki. However, whenever I have excess things like gailan or any, as you just said, stemmy veggies, I usually go for like a namul, which is a Korean blanched veggies in a, to put it very simply, in a sesame dressing with garlic and a bit of salt and perhaps a bit of fish sauce. It's a really simple dish to make. That's what I have. And then it basically can kind of, it's a banchan, it's a side dish, and it can sit in the fridge and you can just use it for anything. So for example, I just recently did a recipe for ochadsuke for our latest Mori House newsletter. And I had actually some namur in the fridge. So I just kind of, well, here's my ochadsuke. I have some namur, so let's just put it on there. You can put it in anything, stir fry it into something, or mix it, stir fry it with meat, put it in fried rice. I'm not gonna do it today. So if you are interested, look it up on Google, NAMUL, basically any kind of green. Or you could subscribe to our newsletter at www.mori.house, and I'll be sending out the recipe on Saturday-ish. But yeah, that's what I would do, the leafy greens, because it extends their life and they can stay in the fridge and you can just use them as and when you need to. I hope I answered your question. That's my zucchini squeezed out. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to do some akure turnips. I'm not sure, as per usual, how much I'm going to use. These guys are a little on the sad side because I waited too long. These little holes here, I'm just gonna chop around them. There they go. Oh, Tida's here, Auntie Tida. I'm just gonna start with 3 because these ones are actually quite small. I'm gonna slice these into rounds and then I'm just gonna cut them across into small strips. Oh dear, I made a mess. So something along these lines, these lines. Just kind of julienning it, like that. Chunk. You may have just heard my dog squealing. She loves her Auntie Tida. Again, my grandma used to put, I can't forget the ham. Used to put ham in it, clearly, and bean sprouts, like soybean sprouts or mung bean sprouts. It's really for texture. And actually it was my grandma's, I only just found this out recently. My great grandparents, my grandma's on my dad's side's parents, used to own a bean sprout farm where they would just farm for just the bean sprouts, just the sprouts of the soybeans and the mung beans. I know they lived in Seattle, Washington. I'm not sure where the farms were. So It's very much in the family, putting bean sprouts in everything. And then also, I need plate or chopsticks. Also, it's just also a classic ingredient to put in to egg foo young, which actually, guys, is a Chinese American or Chinese diaspora dish that doesn't really, as egg foo young, doesn't really exist anywhere outside of Western countries where Chinese diaspora people settled. I think it was based off of the teochew oyster omelet. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. I'm just gonna use the two turnips, and I'll put the others away. And then I will save my greens for the fried rice, which, sorry guys, I probably will make off screen. All you gotta do is just stir fry your rice. Oh, I'm using about like an inch of ginger, maybe like 3/4 of an inch, cutting it into slices. Let's not cut off my finger on camera. Well, actually, I'll probably just do these 4 slices. And I'll mince it. I think I just went off on a tangent. But yeah, this is something that was born of our community. And some people are like, some people are like, oh, I don't like Chinese food because I hate how it's Americanized. And I'm always like, well, yes, but also no. It's like, that's stuff that we made up ourselves to appease you. And in fact, it's dishes like this from my American-born, Chinese American-born grandma that connect her to her heritage. So I am team egg foo young to the grave. Garlic. Grandma wasn't huge on garlic, but I always made her put it in. I think I'm just gonna do 1 clove. It's a pretty big clove, so if you're doing small cloves, do 2. Oh, my counter is so messy, sorry. Sorry for the mess. Sticky fingers. Has anybody here had egg foo young? Like those of you who are not Chinese or Asian American?
I don't think I've ever eaten egg foo young.
Well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, if you didn't grow up with it, then that's probably why. But it is kind of like a hodgepodge of all these different things. Again, I think based off of a Southern Chinese style omelet, which makes a lot of sense because especially here in California, and especially on the West Coast, we have one of the largest communities of Southern Chinese people outside of Southern China, I believe. One of, if not the most, outside of China, Southern China. So it makes sense that a lot of the dishes that people are familiar with, Chinese American dishes, would for sure be based off of Southern Chinese dishes, which is why we call, Leslie, you'll have to help me with this, but that's why we call gailan gailan. And I think, I'm not sure what it's called in Mandarin, but like gailan and bok choy.
Gailan.
See, there you go. Mm-hmm. Now, this is going to be different because I'm not using flour for this one. I am going to use a little bit of potato starch, but I'm actually going to make a slurry of potato starch and then add that to my eggs, which I will first mix with all of this. I'm kind of talking in circles, so just give me a sec. You're going to want to get yet another bowl. Thank God my husband and my aunt are here. They can help me clean up. For this amount, and for actually 3 people, I'm probably gonna do 3 eggs. So, let's see here, 16. Now, look, egg foo young, oh, the ham. Sorry, I didn't mean to get overexcited. I gotta do the ham too. 21, 21, 21. Forget it, but here's 20. 1, 2, 3, and I'm doing this kind of like how you would do a Thai style omelet, which I mentioned before. Quite a bit of oil, and really super high heat and a little bit of this potato starch is going to make these eggs super fluffy and delicious. And it's going to make, you're going to end up with a hell of a lot more egg than you would normally get. With just like, you know, 3 eggs and just put it in a pan. Where's that ham? I should have done this on the meat chopping block, but whatever. This bone I'm gonna chuck into a pot and make stock later. For us and the dogs. Here's some bits that Chris already tore apart for me. I'm just gonna make sure that chop them nice and small. Just kind of like cubes of ham is kind of what my grandma used to do. And she would use same cubes of ham in her fried rice, bit of frozen peas, proper Asian American ingredients. Oh, luncheon meat ham, to be fair, to be very clear about it. But because we're fancy and we had my husband's beautiful boiled pork that he did the other night, I'm using that. Not sure how much this is. I would say maybe like half a cup. I don't know. That's the thing about these pancakes. Just like add whatever you want to it. You could be all ham if you want. Like I'm actually already envisioning ham, corn, and cheese. Now this is a lot more filling than I think I'm going to use for this particular one. If I was going to make more, if I was feeding more people, I think this amount of filling would probably go with about 5 to 6 eggs, but I've only got 3, so I'll probably only use half. But this is great because I can just use this in like a stir fry later, or I can mix it into fried rice, or I can just, you know, just make more egg Foo Young if I wanted to. The possibilities are endless. And that's why I love this style of cooking, because it's just kind of like, just use what you've got and figure it out. It's not gonna be bad. It's not gonna not taste good, so just do it. Now, making sure I have everything, my eggs, which have not yet been whisked, my filling, and I need one more small bowl for the potato starch slurry, which is, I think I normally use about a tablespoon and a half. I just use this thing, which isn't quite either a teaspoon or a tablespoon. So I think that's about a tablespoon and a half. Now the thing about this kind of potato starch slurry is that it does not fully dissolve. So when you add about the same amount of water, just a little bit more, and you stir it around like so, while I'm waiting for the pan to heat up, it's gonna settle. The starch is gonna settle at the bottom again, and I'm gonna have to stir it again. Same goes for cornstarch. So just be prepared that I'm not going to add this to the egg yet because I don't want it to settle at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat the oil till it's smoking. I'm gonna add, while it's coming to a heat, I'm gonna whisk. And when it just starts smoking, I'm going to add the cornstarch to the eggs, whisk it, add the filling to the eggs, and then just put it in there. You'll see. Again, I'm talking in circles. Sorry about it. Sorry about it. So this one, I said a lot of oil, so like maybe like 3 to 4 tablespoons. Don't worry, it's not gonna all go into the egg because it's gonna be so hot that the egg is basically gonna sit at the top of it. It's not gonna absorb all of it. And in fact, some friends of mine, oh, Leslie, you know, Ploy and Jeremy, when they do their wok omelet, they use a lot of oil. And when you ever watch them make it at their pop-ups, it's always, there's always still so much oil left over in the pan. So it's not as if like you're absorbing and then eating like 4 tablespoons of oil. Don't be afraid of the oil. Ooh, I got a thing in there. There's a thing in there in the middle, because I need this to get really smoky. I don't wanna, and because I need to whisk for you, I'm just gonna move this, sorry, up a little bit. That's 3 eggs. Ooh, I see a little bit of smoke coming, which is good. Remix my cornstarch slurry, add that in, whisk, 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 keep it going. It's not like it's gonna settle in a second, but you may wanna make sure that it doesn't settle at the bottom. And then start with half and see how we get on. probably what I'll do is just make another one for later and put it in the fridge. Or save it for the morning and have this again for breakfast. One of my favorite things to have is basically egg Foo Young over rice for brekkie. You know what? No, yeah, I will save some of that for later because I want that for breakfast. So when your pan, sorry about the contrast, guys. I hope it's not too, Can you see okay? Okay. Oh, there we go. I think it's because the pan is dark. My pan is really smoking now. So I'm going to pour with one hand and keep my pan swirling in a circular motion very gently. If you can hear me, you see the sides of the omelet lifting. I'm gonna also just kind of move it from side to side. If there's any excess liquid that needs to come out, I'll let it cool around the sides, but it's not coming out, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. You see how the edges are kind of curling up a little bit? That's more or less what you want. I wish I could show you the base of it, but it is really nice and fluffy.
So Adrian, you added 2 tablespoons of potato starch. Is that what you added?
It was about a tablespoon and a half mixed with more or less the same amount of water, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. The odd thing about this is that because it's not fully set in the middle, I'm a little bit afraid. It's been about 2 minutes. I'm a bit afraid that the batter is gonna go splashing everywhere. Uh-oh, no, that's not gonna. Here's what to do. If you can't flip it because it's not set, turn it off. Cover it and let it sit like this for a few minutes. So sometimes if I put too much filling into my batter mixture, it takes longer in the center for it to set, which means that when the bottom is nice and golden and crispy, I'm not able to flip it like I should. And technically speaking, at least in my experience, the egg Foo Young that my grandma used to make were in like small batches. I've got one that's about the same size as the pan. That was my fault for getting too over ambitious. So if it's not set in the center, I always turn off the heat so it doesn't continue cooking the bottom and burn it. And then I cover it and then just let it sit for a couple minutes to steam in its own heat. And then if it's still not done, you can flip it over one more time. I hope all of that made sense for everyone. And actually, I'm kind of glad that that happened because if you are in that situation where you can't flip it, obviously you can just turn it into an omelet, fold it in on itself. But, this is another way of handling an omelet or egg Foo Young that has not set completely, because I'm not going to try and flip that. I don't want to ruin it. So while that is sitting for, I don't know, I think I'll leave it for a few minutes while I'm doing the rest. Sorry for all the noise. This is my okonomiyaki. It does not look like normal okonomiyaki because it certainly is not. I've got some katsuobushi, which is just shaved bonito. It's gonna go on the top after I've done my sauces. So, tonkatsu sauce, ketchup, something similar. This is actually very liquidy, so I hope it's not. This is a lot thinner than normal tonkatsu sauce, but if you have tonkatsu sauce, go for it. You see? Shaky hands, not as pretty as they do it in the source, but it is what it is. You can't really go wrong. And same with the mayonnaise. So beautiful. And then beauteous. What I love about katsuobushi put a little bit on the top. Again, it's Bonito shavings. I did not do these myself. I'm sorry to say that these are store-bought, which is what most of us have access to anyways. But what I love about katsuobushi is the movement. You can see them moving in the, see them moving in the air because they're so thin that they kind of curl with the heat and with the air currents that we barely even notice on a day-to-day basis. Here is my, if you can see, okonomiyaki. And I will then get a chopping block for my buchimgae. Hot. And again, it's not red because I only did half kimchi. But it does look a little anemic, Jesus. It'll still be delicious. So what I would do with this, pizza shapes or not, I'm gonna do, this is a little thicker than I'd like, but again, I used a pan that was smaller than what I normally use. Keep it together because you want to see the round shape. You can't see it actually. Here, let me move this over. Here we go. It's so light colored, which is fine, but also not what I was wanting. But that's what I get. Usually when I make this, it's like a volcano red. Also, keeping in mind, I didn't use your standard kimchi. I just used, I didn't use beichu kimchi, which is kanapakabu kimchi. I did bok choy kimchi. It is what it is. Now, rinse my hands because they're oily. Let's check on my, okay, that is almost set. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it one more time. I'm gonna see if I can flip it. Oh yeah, she can be flipped. Oop, I lost it. There we go. So what I'll do, since it was still a little bit undercooked, I'll just turn it back on just for a couple minutes just to heat it through. And then, as I mentioned before, excuse me, I'm just having a bite. As I mentioned before, Foo Young normally comes with like a velvety kind of silken Cantonese style sauce, which I'm not gonna make, but it's normally used, made with some kind of meat stock, a little bit of soy sauce, maybe a little bit of shaoxing, and then thickened with a cornstarch slurry until it becomes like this velvety kind of sauce. You can also go so far as to put a raw egg in there and then just kind of whisk it around to give it a little bit more of a silken kind of texture to it. But essentially what you do is you serve this egg foo young up in one big pancake or in separate ones, and then you pour the gravy over it, which I'm gonna do another time just because I think we're running a little bit short on time. But it is really, really, really lovely. So let's see, I'm gonna give it one more minute. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm almost done. I don't wanna miss anything if anyone's feeling lost or confused or offended or concerned. Anything? No, that is good. Yeah, my grandma would have made these like half that size, but it's all good. Let me get one more plate for that. So, what I would recommend you do, I'm turning that off now. Moving that to the side, see if I can burn my hand. Eat these. I would, actually, let me put this onto the plate first. So, pour some kind of sauce or gravy on top of that, or cut it up, have it with the same, tonkatsu sauce and a little bit of mayonnaise if you want, or make a Cantonese gravy, have it with that. What I would do with the kimchi buchimgae is I got from my neighbor's garden, because I don't have any shiso. What I was going to say is, you've got shiso in your box this last week. highly recommend this is a grape leaf, but take a shiso leaf or a grape leaf, like a young grape leaf, totally edible, delicious, and in season. Sorry for my chewing. That actually turned out really, really, really good. And one last thing before we go, which you could do, sorry. Little soy sauce, however much you want. You know what I mean? I'd say that's like, I'll do 2 tablespoons. No, more. Just go for it. I'd say that's about 3 tablespoons. Got too many things here. If you have gochugaru, chili flakes, Korean chili flakes, add about half to equal that amount. No, maybe half. Because you don't want to turn it into a paste. Add a little more. So the soy sauce, chili flakes, sesame oil, roasted sesame oil, half the amount of the soy sauce, maybe even a little bit less, depending on how oily you like things. Green onion. Oh no, I spilled my salt. Put it over my shoulder. A little impromptu extra recipe for y'all. I'm so messy today. I'm cutting it in half lengthwise because it's very, very thick, this green onion. Roasted sesame seeds. Maybe like a teaspoon. It's very shiny in here because of the lighting. I don't know if you can see. Soy sauce, roasted sesame oil, green onions, gochugaru, and roasted sesame seeds, if I didn't say that already. I'll put garlic in here as well. I totally forgot. That is a very nice combination to have your shiso leaf or your perilla leaf, your cane leaf if you have it, or a grape leaf, which is all I had access to. Wrap it in a little taco-ish type of thing. Dip it. Very nice. Oh, I'm so glad I did that sauce. That saved my, that saved my kimchi buchimgae from being too bland, because this sauce really helped. So that is that. I've got my egg Foo Young, which I'm sorry to say is missing its sauce. My Okonomiyaki. And my kimchi buchimgae with spicy sauce. And I'll make a fried rice later off screen. And that's that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adrian.
No
and
problem.
I like how you are promoting the perilla leaves and shiso leaves because they are coming on strong. I'm sure the last box got quite a bit.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We're going to limit, so we won't give as much as we did last year, but you will get them at least once a month. So you can.
It's just such a great way of using it, as you've been telling everybody all this time. Like, use it as a wrap for anything. You know, my grandma used to love even just having her fried rice and putting them in lettuce cups, but she'd sometimes also put them in, you know, leaves and things like that. It's just a really lovely way of being able to have a contrast of textures. You've got like your cooked, fried, whatever, with the really fresh crunchiness of the raw veggies and herbs. It's really, really nice contrast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this has given me a lot of ideas. So
good, excellent. Does anybody else have any questions? I hope I was clear enough and didn't confuse anybody too much. New? Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Leslie, is there anything you want to close up with?
No, someone did ask about Gailon, and I just want to let you know that we have been trying since the beginning of the season to grow Gailon, but it is just continually failing. So we're hoping to add that. We are growing it out of season. So maybe as we get closer to fall, it will actually take and we'll be able to distribute that. But
well, you know, something I've noticed with ours as well, it's finally taking, but because we had all those heat waves and then sudden drops of temperature, a lot of our Gailon bolted, went to flower before they even had a chance to have mature leaves. So I can imagine this climate change business is really not helping.
Yeah, this season has been really hard for a lot of our greens, but yeah. All right, and does anybody have any questions or? Thank you, Adrian.
You're so welcome. And hope you enjoyed yourself, everyone. If you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram. I'm at Buck Spirit Shrine or at Mori.house, or you can just email Leslie and she can relay your question. I'll be happy to help.
Great. Okay, thank you. We are recording this. We'll have this posted as well for folks who weren't able to make it. So thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.